So David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, who, I mean, listen, he threw propane and lighter fluid and beer and whatever other concoction you want to throw at somebody during the Jaguars game against the Panthers last year. The NFL fined him significantly, $300,000. Not a great look. He was criticized for it. And he decided, you know what? I'm going to change my ways. I'm not going to let fans get under my skin any longer. And so what did he do? On Thursday, on his way to the draft, where the Carolina Panthers were getting ready to go to the war room and try and figure out what exactly their plan was now that they gave up their draft picks to the Chicago Bears to kind of change their franchise, he decided, I don't like the sign in front of a restaurant and bar on my way there that said, let the coach and GM make the pick. So David Tepper walks into the bar and approaches two employees at the restaurant that are standing behind the host stand. Surveillance video comes out. They tried to play it off as it being friendly. He removed a guy's hat from his head on video because the guy was wearing an Eagles hat, and he didn't like that the guy was wearing an Eagles hat. And then shook everybody's hand, had a couple of words, and then walked out. I don't know about you, but if you were working at the Bogey Inn back in the day, Brady Quinn, and somebody walked in and took a hat off your head because they didn't like the team on the front of the hat, how's that going to conclude? What's the ending to that story?
I probably would have slapped him.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is if the kid knew who he was, which I assume David Tepper is well enough known in that town where you're probably going to handle it a little different. We obviously don't know exactly what was said, but not a cool move by anyone if someone's going to just grab your hat and take it off your head like that. And I don't want to sensationalize that particular action. What I'd like to focus on is that you're a billionaire and you have such thin skin that you drive by a restaurant and they're giving more sage advice that you should probably listen to, but it bothers you so much you have to pull over, walk inside, and then talk to someone who probably has nothing to do with putting that sign up. That's an ownership decision, right? Or whoever's managing that restaurant, maybe the same person. Either way, that's their decision. Like, that's not the guy who's at the host stand who's sitting there, at the front. He's probably not the one who ultimately makes the decision on whether or not that sign flies, right? Especially if it represents your restaurant. So owner to owner, maybe he should call up the guy who owns the establishment and have it out with him. Either way, it's just, oh, man.
It's a clown move, but it's a clown move in a list of clown moves that have been made by that team. I wonder if you're Matt Rule and if you're Frank Reich, now that you're away from the mess, I wonder if you look back and go, good God, what the hell was that? What is happening here?
I wonder if there's a certain number of folks who approved David Tepper as an owner that are regretting that now. And I understand they were in a spot where they had to turn around and sell the team quick, given what had taken place under Mr. Richardson. But, the truth of the matter is you didn't have to, rush to do it. He clearly was someone who had the money to do it. But it has been a disaster since he's taken over as the majority owner of the Carolina Panthers. And look, I hope they can right the ship, but I really say that for the players' sake and the coaches' sake because they're families. I don't have much confidence that he's going to figure it out anytime soon, given everything he's been through the past 2 years now, and yet he still makes these sorts of moves, these sorts of decisions.
Look, what would go through your mind to think, oh, this is the move I should make? I'm on my way to go ahead and try and figure out what direction we're going in the draft, and let me stop off here at a neighborhood bar and grill and approach somebody and remove a hat off their head because I don't like the signage out in front, but I'll shake everybody's hand and play it off like we're all buddy and friends. No, you're not, dude. You should be avoiding stuff like this at all costs. But there's, if you look back at some of his, some of the stuff out there on him, I think this came out after, he threw the lighter fluid on the fan at the Jaguars game. If you look back on the...
You're in trouble for that, I'm telling you.
On the, hey, listen, we're having some fun here. All right, listen, if he can take somebody's hat off their head, then we can go ahead and
just
do
wait.
this.
Just wait until you get that call from legal. They're like, hey, by the way, they felt like that's a little stepping over the boundaries of what you're allowed to say.
But like there was reports that came out, and there was a story that he had said that if he bought a building somewhere, like he would just buy a place just to shut it down and put it out of
like
business.
A restaurant, he'd buy the entire building and just to fire them.
Yeah, just to fire everybody and get rid of it all, like just to destroy the whole thing. Like,
yeah.
Dude, you got to stay out of the public eye to a certain extent. All right, and I know you're the owner, and I know everybody wants to be Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones isn't doing this. Jerry Jones, at least for all the meddling and all the stuff that we want to say about him, at least when Jerry Jones talks about his team or defends his team, he does it in a way to try and grow the brand. He does 2 interviews a week on local Dallas radio. Like, he'll get combative if he needs to get combative, but he's not doing this. And David Tepper wants to be Jerry Jones, except the approach he's taking is, let me go ahead and throw stuff at fans and remove hats off people's heads because I don't like signage out in front, and then just fire a bunch of coaches in a row. You could say whatever you want about Jerry Jones. Here's what you can say about him that is actually true and is actually a compliment to the guy. He's loyal to a fault. Case in point, Zeke Elliott's back. Like, you got to do a lot to be fired as a head coach by Jerry Jones, and he's going to defend his team, and he's going to grow the brand. All David Tepper has done since he got into Carolina is drive him into the ground and fire coaches. And if you're Bryce Young and any of those guys, dude, my apologies. I hope it goes well. I love Bryce Young. Dave Canales seems like a good dude, but I'm looking around going, all right, when am I next? Because that's what it feels like.
Well, the last thing you want to be is a distraction for your team. You're the owner. You're preaching that to everyone underneath you, right? You're preaching the fact that you don't want anyone to be a distraction to the team, and yet that's the message you're sending by pulling over and doing that. Like, you're becoming a distraction for your first-time head coach, and your second-year rookie quarterback is trying to figure all this stuff out. People might be asking your players, coaches questions about playing for an owner that conducts themselves this way. I mean, that's like rule number one is don't make it harder than it is. It's hard to win in the NFL, and yet somehow David Tepper has found a way to, I don't know if it's embarrass himself is the right way to put it, but I go back to this too. We just had the draft, and everyone always says, oh, which quarterback is going to make it? Which one's going to be a bust? And I'm like, dude, here's the truth of the matter. If you're in a good situation or circumstance, you could be less talented and you could probably make it. And you could be a franchise guy. You can have a successful career if everything lines up for you, even if you're not the most talented. Because I promise you, all these quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round, they all have the same intangibles for the most part. I bet they all work hard. I bet they all take pride in what they do. They're team players. They're selfless. And they have all of those attributes that you're looking for as a leader. If they didn't, they wouldn't have been drafted in the first round. They wouldn't have been top players at the college level, all that stuff. So then what separates them? Well, some guys got better arms than others. Some guys are more accurate. Some guys might have a better football sense or intuition when the snap of the football happens, where to go with the football. You could be taught what to do, but then knowing when to do it is a big part of like the wisdom part, right? And matching those two of what and when to do it is really what you see then on the field. And that's what you see from the greatest players is they have a natural feel and intuition for what to do and when to do it. So the situation of circumstance that they walk into with a team with ownership matters more than anything else. And that's one of the tough things about seeing this is you kind of feel like a player who goes to Carolina is almost, I don't want to say career suicide, but it's an uphill battle because you've got an owner who's meddling in this. And we could even talk about at some point today's show Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons and their first-round decision because there's conflicting thoughts on who made the decision, who ultimately pulled the trigger on that. And we'll get to that at another time. But I would challenge what you said about he wants to be Jerry Jones. I don't think he's acting anywhere close to Jerry Jones. I don't think he can be Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones has way too much equity built up in the league as far as what he's done for the league, what he's done for the Dallas Cowboys, what he's done for Fox as a TV network.
And he does it the right way.
Right, but I don't think they're even in the same stratosphere. Like to me, that's not a comparison because Jerry Jones has won in this league. He's brought this league to a point where he's continued to push it forward. David Tepper's just trying to figure out how to win some games with his franchise. Like, that's the only thing that he should be focusing on. That's the only thing that he's brought to the table outside of a quick transaction to buy an NFL franchise when they wanted to move on from the narrative and everything that had taken place with the former owner. That was really what it was about. Hey, who's a guy that can come in, can buy this team, and get us to move on from all the stuff that was taking place in Carolina before Tepper took over? Like, we don't want to remember that. We don't want to talk about it. Let's move on from it. Let's find a new owner. And I guess he's been a good distraction for that, because no one's thinking about no one's thinking about what was taking place. We're trying to dig into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah. No. Instead, they've got this fiasco on their hands. So yeah, that's the update on the Carolina Panthers. So again, Dave Canales, Bryce Young, you guys,
good luck.
Yeah, have fun. We'll see how this plays out this upcoming season for Carolina.